Hey guys, we are here with Senior Vice President of Communication at Fantasy Flight Games, Steve Horvath, for an interview discussing the recent World announcements and organized play in general. Steve, thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for being here.
Thank you guys. Yeah.
Well, let's kick it off with Worlds. So this is a big announcement that has been made. A lot of changes going on here, certainly exciting changes, I would say. And let's just dive into this announcement. So the things that I took away from this, a lot of important things, which is this moving to 5 days. You know, that's an important change.
Big deal.
Pre-registration only is a big deal. You've got a cap on all the events. You've got reserved registration now for winners of other tournaments like nationals and, of course, like past world champions, which I think is really cool. Regional champions, those kinds of people. Also switching to pretty extensive prizes on arrival, certainly as compared to last year. You're getting, T-shirts, deck box, participation cards for all the games, those kinds of things. Tell us about these changes. Like, is there anything we missed, first of all? And what's your reasoning behind this kind of sweeping overhaul of Worlds?
So a few years ago, we used to hold the Worlds at Gen Con, like most people do. Mm-hmm. But we have such a big presence at Gen Con, we just weren't able to devote all the attention to the Worlds events that we wanted to. And also, a lot of our partners around the world, they hold their national championships around the same time, so we couldn't get as many national champions there as well. So we wanted it to be a really global event, and we wanted to throw a lot more resources at it. So we moved it from Gen Con to our headquarters here in Minnesota. And I know that was a very controversial decision at the time because it's cold here in November.
Yeah.
Yes, it is. It's really cold sometimes.
Yes, but it allowed us, I think people saw right away how much more attention, how much more resources we could pour into this, how much more staff could be involved. We were able to live stream that first year a little bit. We took our first steps into that, and it worked out all right. And the event has really taken off. Back in 2012, the first year we moved it here, we had a total attendance of 180. In 2013, that grew to 409, so a huge leap.
Yeah.
The live stream got better. The events got even better. It was very, very exciting, and people could just kind of see the proposition of having it here. Last year, it exploded again. It went up to 629 unique attendees playing across all of those events, and the place was bursting at the seams. We had a secondary space for the overflow. We were able to add live commentary to the Twitch stream. You guys helped us out with that. That was really awesome. And I think it's the best event we've ever done. There were, of course, some issues, and we always try to get better. One of the things that people asked for was the return of T-shirts and that kind of stuff. Well, the only way that we can continue to make the event better and exciting and as special as it's become and keep that up and make it even more so, we're out of space, really, is what it comes down to. We can't just have people show up. I don't want people to show up on the day and have a bad experience because we don't have enough room. And by making it a pre-registration only, we will know how many people are coming. We can prepare for that, and we can make it the best, most awesome experience it can possibly be for that amount of people, right? I expect last year's event was the best event we've ever done, I think, and I think this year's will be noticeably even better than that. But the only way to do that and ensure that is to go to this pre-registration only and cap each of the championship events. The guys, the OP team have done just an absolutely brilliant job, in my opinion, of scheduling this out over the 5 days, and adding that 5th day also allows us to bring more people in. This year's event will be significantly bigger than last year's. So when I say that there's a cap on each of the events, all of the events are going to be big. There's going to be a lot more people here this year than there were last year, but we had to have, there was a top end in sight, and we've reached it here, at least for now. And so that's why we've done that. We also wanted to thank people for coming out, some people coming from clear around the world. So we've added this special exclusive deck box that you get when you show up and inside's a single copy of all the participation alternate art cards. So that's just a special thank you on our part for coming out here to the frozen tundra in November, I guess, right? And there was a surprising amount of feedback about how much people miss the shirts. Now, one thing that this pre-registration does for us with the shirts is we can guarantee that we're getting the right sizes. 2 years ago, the last time that we did the shirts, half the people didn't give us their shirt sizes. And so there were a lot of problems and people disappointed that we didn't have their size. And, we're talking about hundreds and hundreds of people, right? So that was an issue, but that's all worked out now. And pre-registration only, that'll be something that you have to do when you sign up, is give us the shirt size so we make sure that we have a shirt for you.
Yeah.
So basically, that was a long answer. Did any of that make sense?
No, that's all great. And I mean, it's something that is known how much you guys care about the experience you're offering for the people, for your events, for your games, how much focus you put on quality. The changes such as like moving to 5 days, that's awesome. The alt arts on arrival with the deck box is awesome. I know there was a lot of people last year who play in an event to get the participation and drop immediately, so your first round opponent's not even there, or they play the first round and then they drop, and that was a problem. So that's awesome that kind of got solved.
Well, this should address that as well.
Yeah.
But the main point is just a general thank you for coming out to the event, and I think it'll help in other ways, like you mentioned as well.
And so just to be clear on the cap on registration, because I've got a feeling if you guys keep expanding and you guys keep growing like you have been, that you will reach the cap. There will be a cap. Even last year, there were people that were wanting to play X-Wing that couldn't because there's just too many people who were wanting to play in this World Championship event. How does moving to 5 days affect your capacity to have more people in the bigger events such as Netrunner or X-Wing? And then is it a cap on registration, or is it a cap on like the event size? Like, is that what caps who can register?
Yeah, each event has a cap to it. So that will end up capping the overall event, obviously. But it's not just a general attendance cap. It's a cap geared to each championship event has a cap to it. And that will give us the overall gap.
So like if someone shows up for, just X-Wing, they may not affect my chances of playing in like the Star Wars LCG World Championship.
That won't affect your chances at all. And by going to 5 days, it's one of the ways that we're able to accommodate more people. So for example, X-Wing is day one, and instead of running flights like we did last year, it's one big event of 256 players.
Wow.
Cutting to the top 16 for day two, right? The flight system we thought was going to be really good, but there were some issues with it. One of the issues is that if somebody got into the first flight and there was some space in the second flight, they were able to play again, so that gave them 2 chances to get in. That's not exactly fair. It caused a lot of disruption to travel plans and people unsure of, well, what does this mean for this flight versus this flight and that kind of stuff. So we're going back to one big event this year. So Wednesday, the only big championship event happening on Wednesday is X-Wing.
Nice.
Right? So even though we've extended it to 5 days, that doesn't mean everybody has to be there for the whole 5 days. So you can also kind of tailor your trip a little bit better.
That's cool.
It just means that all of my guys have to be there for the 5 days. So
sure. Well, that's awesome. I mean, that's actually great to hear. I feel like a lot of players are going to really dig that. Day one is X-Wing, which is awesome.
Yes.
That'll be a great way to kick off the World Championship weekend.
Yes.
Steve, I'm just brimming with questions about Worlds in general, okay. Just kind of a bigger picture thing.
Here, let me take a drink.
Go ahead.
Go for it.
Fresh. So you announced a lot of positive changes, with amping up a lot of things, including the prizes on arrival and the kind of exclusivity. There's a lot. So we've heard from you guys a lot, like on the in-flight reports and other things, that the casual player base is a vast majority of the players of these games. It's not necessarily the people that come into the 8-man, 16-man tournaments every month and play, but that they have a vast casual audience. And in light of that, I'm curious, you're doing a 5-day event, it's Worlds, it's a really big deal. And sometimes you have these side events that are kind of casual and, play games and collect points and you get some exclusive things. Do you guys see Worlds as having any kind of an appeal to the casual player, or is this to Fantasy Flight where the competitive players come and throw down to determine who the best player in the world of these games is?
Yes.
So it's the second?
it is the vast majority of the second. Yes, this is for competitive players to come out and find out who the best player in the world on that given day is, right? I'm not saying that a casual person can't come and enjoy the event, but they're going to be coming and playing against people that are very hardcore. You know, Paul Heaver, who has won the world championship for X-Wing the past 2 years, he's got a database and spreadsheets of how all the ships move. He analyzes all of this kind of stuff. Someone who plays the game once a month or whatever, if they come and they face him, they're going to have a pretty brutal experience, right?
He'll be nice about it. He'll be nice about it.
Oh, he'd be super nice about it, right? There was a 13-year-old young man who almost beat him in the round of 16 last year. Yeah. Who's a very, very good player as well. And they had a very friendly, Paul is a super friendly guy. He's a great champion to have, but he's very highly skilled, right? Mm-hmm. And the guys that are coming out for that weekend are here to win. And I understand that, and that's great. So can a casual person come to Worlds? Sure, if they want to. But it may not be the experience that they're really looking for, mm-hmm. right? It'll be different than just a tournament or a league or a casual game night in their regular store, for sure. I think we do a lot of stuff for casual players because there are a lot of them out there, but we also do some stuff for the serious tournament players that really want to compete at a high level. And this is the pinnacle of that competition, right? This is what those players are playing for all year round. Because then you get what I think is arguably the coolest prize in gaming. You get to help work with the design team and design a card for a future set. That's pretty awesome.
Well, this is actually a great chance to just talk about competitive players and competitive play in general, mm-hmm. Especially how Fantasy Flight views the competitive environment, right? Mm-hmm. So there are extremes. Like on one end, you have like the old standard that's set from popular trading card games like Magic or Yu-Gi-Oh! Or something. So you're talking like pro tours and qualifiers mm-hmm. and this really robust system that is pretty much all about competing in the competitive play environment. Is this something that if I'm a competitive Netrunner player, for instance, or Star Wars player, should I expect that the game is going to have those kinds of opportunities available to me more and more as you guys grow and kind of get the organized play sorted? Or is there an intentional thing going on here as far as how far you want to take these games in a competitive nature? What would you say to that?
We're always trying to evolve the programs and looking for other cool events for people to engage with, right? That's what the whole point of it is. Pro tours are not for us. That's not something we're interested in, right? At the end of the day, no matter how competitive the games are, they're supposed to be fun. Once you introduce money into the equation, then it's a job. It's not a hobby, and that's not what we're looking for, right? Yeah. That's just not something we're interested in right now.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't expect to see that coming in the future, but will there be other events that we might do? Sure. Right. Some of those events will be geared at the more casual players or the audience as a whole. Some of them will be geared at more competitive aspects. Nice. I can't really speak to what those are right now, but yeah, we're always talking in our weekly meetings. One section of it is what other things can we do? And we do have some pretty interesting things that we're looking at, but nothing that I'm ready to talk about.
Nice. All right. Excellent.
Always evolving.
Yeah. And that kind of another big thing that I was always curious about regarding prize support is, you know, as we look at prize support and how it's kind of become established, you have this foundational now, I would say, prize support kit that works across all of your games. You've got the playmats and the deck boxes and the different alternate art cards. It feels like the kind of thing where, you know, you started out and this thing kind of got pretty big. The LCG format really was quite successful. Yeah. And then there was those moments where it's like, well, we need to amp up the organized play system. We got to find something that works. And it seems like you guys found that. You found the kits that work. It took
a little while though, huh?
Yeah. I went through a few Game of Thrones Martell patches before that moment.
Sure.
But
yep. 16 of them.
But you got there, right? And so given, you know, kind of how we approach things internally, is this now a thing that you've established this foundation, and now can we expect prize support kits to continue to amp up and get more impressive and exciting? Or is this kind of, you're saying, the standard for prize support for the inevitable future of these LCG games?
I'm never going to say this is it, right?
Yeah.
So we're always looking at different ways, more ways that we can do cool stuff. We're always discussing what other prizes we can do. It's the prize stuff gets very subjective, right?
Yeah.
No matter what we do or don't do, there's people that love it and there's people that don't. There's always, there's always differing opinions. If you ask, 100 people what they think, you're probably going to get 120 opinions on what we should do.
Yeah.
And I understand that, and that's fine. And what we're trying to do is do stuff that the vast majority of the players think is the coolest thing that we can do. Are we there? I think it's going pretty well. Is there room for improvement? Of course there's room for improvement. We're always going to experiment. Maybe we'll do, I shouldn't say that. There's other stuff that we're looking at doing, and if and when we can mix up the prize support, we're going to do it. And some of it will be kind of experimental. Hopefully most of it will work. Some of it probably won't. And when it doesn't, we'll continue to refine and evolve. You made that comment, Zach, about us evolving, and I know I talk about that a lot because it's true. We're always trying to figure out what can we do next, what can we do better. We never sit back. There's never a time as a team where we sit back and go, well, we've won. That's it.
Yeah.
That's it. Game over. We're finished. We can just take it easy now, right? Because as soon as you think you've won, that's when you've lost. I think we're winning right now. I think it's going very well. Can it get better? Absolutely, it can get better.
Yeah, totally fair. Let's talk about the judge program, shall we?
Sure.
This is a thing that you've announced, and I think speaks to the environment that we're talking about,
Yep.
that kind of more competitive environment. Any updates on that? Anything new kicking with the judge thing?
So it's been delayed as we're trying to get it right, and we're trying to be able to roll it out in a way that makes sense because these games are getting big, especially X-Wing and Netrunner. But now Armada and Imperial Assault have just catapulted in the orders for the first season tournament kits for those games, and I expect those to be huge. Second edition Game of Thrones is coming out later this year. That's going to be a monster. So we're clearly at a spot now where we need a judge program, but just like everything we do, it has to be done right. It took us a while to get the price support down for LCGs. It took a while for people to even embrace LCGs. You talked about what a big success it is now, but when I came to the company in 2008, when it first came out, that was my first project, was to kind of, from a marketing promotions point of view, was to get people to understand what it was and how exciting it could be. But there were a lot of doors slammed in our face on that early on. And now people have come around and seen it and really embraced it, and it's great. But it took a while to get there. So the judge program as well, I mean, there's a lot of intricacies to it, and we want to make sure that it's a great program, that people that decide to go through the certification process are excited about it and enjoy doing it, and that the events themselves benefit from having these judges.
Yeah.
Right? Just rolling out, I could put out a program next week, but would it be what those games really need? Right? So we keep challenging ourselves to make it the best program it can be, just like we challenge ourselves to make the games the best games they can be, and we delay them when they need delays. And the judge program, we had hoped it'd be out by now. It's just not quite ready yet. It will be out this year, though. The tournament software, I think that's a huge upgrade to the organized play program overall. It's the same guy who programmed our new website, built it. He's an amazing guy. We're going to continue to evolve it. This is just the first iteration of it. Future iterations will do even more cool stuff. But I think this is going to be an amazing tool for people to use going forward.
That's awesome. Yeah, I mean, I think the judge program and the software are both critical components of the infrastructure to keep this thing growing and healthy and vibrant.
No, we get it. We need to tighten up some stuff around the edges to make the programs even better. And part of that is this tournament software, the judge program, floor rules, all of that stuff we have got to nail down.
All right, so you're introducing a judge program, you're introducing new tournament software, and you mentioned cool things. So something that I've heard a lot of players talking about, and I'm not even sure if it's something you're interested in, but in regards to having an official tournament software.
Oh, here it
comes. Yeah, you probably know where I'm going with this, but
Sure.
I'm curious, is some kind of like player ranking system in mind, or is it even something you want? Is it too competitive? Is it too much like other things that have been done? You have the ELO system or various ways of like tracking how good players are, and that's really what we're all after here. So,
Sure.
is what's your take on like a ranking system and making these tournaments that are official have a little more, I guess, value in that regard?
I'm not sure a ranking system really adds value to the tournaments.
Sure.
The ranking system is something else that, like, everybody has a different opinion on how it should be. If you do ELO, people talk about the points accumulation system. You do points accumulation, they say, well, that's not a real system because it's easier to game that system. It's easier just to rack up points over the years. It's not a true reflection of who the better player is, right? So they all have pros and cons to them, however you skin it. And it's just not something that we think is critical to the success of these games right now. I think organized play is very healthy, and it's growing, and it's doing it without a ranking system. I think ranking system kind of changes the proposition in ways that we don't see as beneficial to the community as a whole. I think we're coming out with plenty of other ways, benchmark systems for people to kind of judge themselves, whether it's how many store championships did you win this year, to regional championships, to nationals, to worlds, to some other types of events that we're looking at coming out that people can benchmark themselves from a competitive point of view. And that being said, we just don't think right now that adding a ranking system is going to bring that much to the table.
Sure. Real quick, Steve, something that just came to mind was basically especially as we talk about ranking players, the international community and players who are from different countries, oftentimes very different metas. And it seems like Worlds has really stepped up in that regard as far as bringing international players in to make it truly a world championship. Do you guys have plans to expand that, or how is that going to work, especially given the new world system with registration and saving spots and that kind of thing?
So maybe this is a time to just go through that, how else you can qualify. Maybe we jumped away from Worlds too soon, right? So in about a month from now, when registration goes live, make sure you check the website for the exact day and time on that. You'll be able to sign up for the website, get your sign up for the tournaments that you want to, until they sell out. If you miss out on that opportunity, if stuff sells out very quickly, we're holding reserve seats for every one of the tournaments. So let me just kind of walk through how the process goes, if I could.
Yeah.
First of all, if you're a former world champion, you've ever won an FFG World Championship in the history of the company, and you contact us up to a week before registration goes live for the rest of the world, you're going to get a special code for us to go in and register for the events that you want. We want to acknowledge those former world champions, and we want to make sure that we have as many world champions present at the event as possible. I mean, that's one of the points of the event, right? So
yeah, that's awesome.
So those people have an automatic way to get in a week before everybody else. Other people who miss out during that day, if that happens, I like to think that the growth will continue and whatnot, but maybe some of the events won't sell out. I don't know. We've added extra space to them, so maybe they won't even need the cap on some of them. But we have reserved seats for all the events. So if you don't get in the initial registration and you're not a world champion, if you win a United States regional championship event, not only do you get a bye at Gen Con for the first round, but that also gives you a chance to come in and buy a ticket for Worlds. You contact us after you've won that regional championship, and we'll give you a special code for you to go in and register. And then also the top 4 players for each game at Gen Con also have a chance to do that. And then at the end, and then we also, for international national champions, that makes sense, right? So national champions of other countries, if that country has made arrangements with us to fly the champion over here, then we will also be holding a seat for that person for that event as well. So there's going to be a decent sized pool and several different ways people can still get in if they miss that original registration. And we're looking at creating more ways for that to happen in the years to come. But for this year, that's how that's going to work. And then there's going to be a grace period for all of those people to register for those seats that are held in reserve for them. And if any of those seats are left unclaimed, then we're going to open those up to the public again as kind of a last chance to get into the event. So there's going to be a lot of different ways to get in. So I think that at least my hope is that everybody who really wants to be here has a chance to be here.
And just to clarify on that, so the registration is still as normal, still the $40, $10 per event, but the actual space is held. That's correct?
What do you...
Like the regional champions and those kinds of things,
so the
will still have to pay for the entry.
The regional champion still has to pay for their entry, but they have a guaranteed seat. National champions get in for free.
Nice. All right. That's important to know. So you guys have this structure of game night. So
win Gen Con.
What? Yeah, win Gen Con.
So win Gen
Con. Just don't lose, and that's how you get in. It's crazy.
Seems good. You've got this, basically the whole organized play structure, which has developed and come along quite nicely, which is the organized play kits, moving into sort of championships, regionals, nationals, and worlds. And of all of those events, we've also seen like some supplementary things like the Plugged In Tour, which is a really cool event that you guys did. So let's say I'm a casual player, which I happen to not really be. Zach and I both are pretty into things competitively, but... casual player that really enjoys certain more thematic things, whether it be like special faction battles or, pre-release events, those kinds of things that just kind of give me a chance to come in and participate without having to be super competitive. Is there any consideration for you to throw more events at those kinds of players, those casual players who just want to come in and maybe get a different kind of experience?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, like I said before, we're looking at ways that we can engage the whole audience that's geared maybe more towards the casual player, as well as different events that would be geared towards more hardcore competitive players. But part of it is a bandwidth issue, right? I mean, and it's the fact that we have 8 games that we're supporting for organized play right now. So it's finding what makes the best sense for each game and what kind of timeline that there is on that. But I just added another person to the organized play team last month. Wade joined us.
Congrats.
You guys may know Wade. You've probably seen him at the Game Center before. But he joined the team late March, right? So that gives me more bandwidth there. And we are looking at other kind of cool events. You're not going to trick me into telling you what they are here, but I think you will. I know you will, but I think in 2016 you will probably see some other cool stuff. At least that's my hope. But again, if we're going to do it, we're not going to do it until we can do it right. The Netrunner Plugged In Tour was very successful. People really liked it. It was very disruptive to operations, right? Especially, I think Stuart was gone 4 weekends in a row. Right, so he worked an entire month without a day off, and quite honestly, it put us back. It put us back made us behind on prize support, getting the tournament kits out, store championships. I mean, we probably lost 6 or 8 weeks of time because of that. Does that mean we'll never do something like that again? No, that's not what I'm saying. But we probably are not going to send so many staff, so many places every weekend for a month like that. That was pretty taxing. So we're looking at how can we do cool events like that for different games and not have it break the system. Yeah, because everybody still wants their cool stuff, and we want to hand out the cool stuff, and so we've got to be able to do it in a way that makes sense.
On that, you have this kind of classic. I guess I would say it's been there for a while, the kind of tabletop gaming scene that oftentimes has the players themselves running these events and being in charge of promoting and supporting that game's community, whereas the store owner is just kind of, I'll order this if you tell me to, and then I'll give it to you, and you can do what you want with it. And I think that's been seen in various places across the country. And what do you guys have any intention? Does this bother you at all, or is it even a factor for you that sometimes store owners are taking the back seat and it's the players themselves that are running these events? Is there anything that you guys are planning to maybe incentivize or further let it be a store owner experience as opposed to putting that onus on the players of the game?
Well, I think it's up to the stores and the players ultimately, right? I mean, I was just at GAMA last month, which is a big retail organization for the hobby game industry, and I talked to hundreds of retailers. I gave an OP presentation. I talked with them throughout the show, and some of them want to be very engaged, and they are very engaged. Some of them have staff that run the stuff for them, and some of them actively rely on, you know, those kind of alpha players that want to step up and run stuff in their store. And so I think it's more to personal preference and personal bandwidth that the stores have, right? I mean, we certainly make it very easy, you know, or as easy as possible for stores that want to be in absolute kind of control of it, right? But if they want to hand that responsibility off to some players in their community, that's fantastic.
Nice. And in that vein, let's look at the other side of it. So how do you guys feel about or approach player groups or stores that are wanting to go above and beyond outside of the traditional organized play structure that you guys have set up? Like, let's say you have a massive tournament plan that's, you know, $1,000 in prize support or whatever. Given that you have kind of shown that this isn't the vibe that we want for these games, we don't want it to be this massive money job kind of thing. What do you think about players doing that on their own? Is that something you guys are concerned about or monitoring in any way?
I'm not really concerned about that from that point of view, because the community is going to kind of dictate where that goes, right? If there's a player group or a store that wants to run something like that, or something different than that, that's fantastic. Good for them. I appreciate their support, but it's not something that we choose to support. So I think overall, it's not what's best for the game overall. But if there is a subsection of the community that wants to kind of self-start and do that amongst themselves, then all the more power to them.
Nice.
All right, so speaking of the world's prizes and the structure, and you get the prizes on arrival, which is awesome. I mean, a deck box is sweet, a shirt is awesome, all the participation prizes, all the benefits there. I know last year...
I think people are going to like the deck box. I think it's really cool.
I'm really excited to see it.
It's not a deck box we've ever done before. So
I'm really excited to see it. That said, I know last year there was some... You guys made a change to one of the major prizes of Worlds, which was the playmats. And it went from, you know, you get it on the top 16 to instead the top 8. Can you give me an update on that structure and maybe any other prizes? Is there going to be more this year? Are you changing anything about the prize structure?
Yeah, the format's kind of going back to what you would expect, that that top 16 is all going to be prized out. Yes, and then there will be some more prizes for top 8 and top 4.
Okay.
So
and is that? In years past, you guys have done like bags with the same art that has the playmat on it. Can you speak to those prizes at all, or are those in the works and you can't really say much about them?
Yeah, there's going to be prizes for top 16, top 8, and top 4, and I think people will like them. I think that the issue from last year is going to go away.
Okay, that's awesome.
And there's also some other prizes. You know, we announced that prize structure today. There's also some other prizes that we're looking to secure right now that we're not ready to talk about, that we'll reveal in the coming months. And we will show all the prizes much more ahead of time this year as well. I know that people were hoping to see the stuff early last year and it just wasn't ready in time. But we made the announcement of how the prize structure is working today. But in the next couple months, you will actually get to see pictures of all of those prizes and more.
Excellent. All right. Well, anything left on Worlds? And I know, Steve, you're always a busy man, so we want to let you get back to it and plan those prizes and get that done. But anything left for you, Zach? Now, pre-registration only, I did have a quick question on that. Like, does that mean that you literally just cannot come in the day of any of the days, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, as a person off the street that, I just happen to be around, can I come in and participate in World Championship weekend, or will I just... be a no-go?
Nope, it's just for people who have pre-registered. That's the only way this year that we can really assure that it's going to be the most awesome event that we can possibly make it. Well, and I think people give this a chance. They come out and see it. I think it's going to be fantastic. I really do.
Awesome.
And I think that, you know, yes, there is a cap involved, but we have added plenty of space, and we've also added a lot of different ways to earn your way in. And so I think that there's going to be plenty of opportunities for the people that really want to come out to be in it, and we're excited to have them there.
Are you? I have questions now.
Okay.
Sorry. Another thing that I'm wondering, you know, one of the big reasons you guys moved it to Minneapolis was to have it at your place, and so you can invest more resources in it and kind of give a better experience. I'm curious. I know that you mentioned that it's kind of the cap of organized play. It's the World Championship. It's the best players in the world that's playing these games. Do you guys have any thoughts on, or have you considered adding non-tournament things happening? And I don't mean like casual events or side events, but you know, the unique opportunity there, and we get a chance a lot of these times to interview some of these guys, but you know, you have designers of X-Wing and designers of Armada that are there, and some players don't even know who they are. Some players do. And I don't know, you have things at Gen Con where you have panels and you have announcements and those kind of things. Is that something you guys are looking to add, or is that just it's not even what that event's about?
Well, last year, you know, we did that whole state of the game for organized play and the different games on the night before. I would expect that we're going to do that again this year. And since I guess I just said it out loud, I guess we are doing it again this year. So
he's committed.
So yeah, I mean, we'll do that, and maybe we'll involve some of the designers and developers that way a little bit, or we'll have to see how that plays out. But just general panels as it is, we are bursting at the seams, and for just space considerations, I don't see adding any of those things right now. What the future looks like, it's hard to say. But for present, we're going to keep panels and stuff like that more to Gen Con.
All right. Well, Steve, do you have anything left that you'd want to say to potential players out there who are thinking, man, I could either go to Worlds or maybe Gen Con, I have to choose between the two, or maybe Worlds or nothing at all? Would you say anything to incentivize those people to come out to Minnesota?
Well, I think, you know, every year I see more and more people saying that coming out to Worlds was such a phenomenal experience and you have to try it. And I think that says it all. I mean, of course, I'm going to say it's an awesome event. I'm putting it on. But I think if you just talk to people that have been to any of these events the past few years, I've just seen overwhelmingly heard people that how much they want to come back, how excited they were, what the experience was like. The live stream last year with the commentary was awesome.
Yeah.
So I look forward to more of that. And people had a chance, I think, around the world to see what the event is more like for themselves and kind of judge for themselves if they want to be here. And everything that I've seen and heard is very positive. You know, there is one thing that we forgot to talk about this as well, where stores are concerned. If a player from your store wins a world championship, the store gets a special plaque for that, and they get free tournament kits the next year.
Whoa.
So you will get 2 free tournament kits for each season for the next year. You get a free store championship kit. And if your store's chosen for regionals for that game, you'll get a free regional kit as well.
Wow. That's really cool.
That's really cool to do for the stores.
So, yeah, and I think that's just also, I think it helps build community, right? Because then as these guys are practicing for Worlds, it really kind of means something, and hopefully they show up as more of a team representing their store when they come, and we've seen some of that starting, and that gave us the idea to kind of encourage that and reward it, right? For the stores and players that feel that loyalty to their stores, right? That'll benefit the whole community at that store as well as the store itself. And so I think it's an extra cool thing to do.
Yeah.
That's really cool. That's awesome.
All right, guys. So this has been Steve Horvath, the Senior Vice President of Communications
That's important.
at Fantasy Flight Games.
Whatever.
Always happy to talk to him, and we'll see everybody at Worlds. It's going to be a great event.